Hey y'all, welcome back. I really love taking extended drives around my area with the express purpose of taking photos. And normally I like to do these drives solo. They can be a bit boring for people who aren't interested in photography, but this time my friend Julia really wanted to come and she really likes to shoot film as well. So me and her decided to do this one together. For this trip, we each brought our Canon Rebel 2000s. We have matching ones with matching Canon 50mm 1.8 lenses. Mine would be loaded with Kodak Portra 400 that I would be overexposing by a stop, and hers would be loaded with Kodak Gold 200. I also brought a backup roll of Kodak Gold just in case I ran out of Portra, which I did. I then planned out a rough routing, going through some small towns that neither one of us had really been to before, and we hit the road. We took the highway out of Gainesville and headed northwest, our first planned stop being the town of Mayo, Florida. But more on that later. A fun part of photo drive is taking unexpected stops along the way. Sometimes you just see something on the side of the road, you're like, well, we have to stop. We were passing through the small town of Fort White, and we saw this insane sign. Yes, you are reading that right, and yes, that is a possum playing a guitar. This place seemed to be having some construction done, so we just kind of walked around a little bit. And we're starting the trip off right with the toilet photo. This might actually be the first toilet photo I've ever taken on film, but I couldn't pass this one up. To be honest, I wish I'd spent a little bit more time getting the composition right, but I still like it. Our next unplanned stop was in Brandford, Florida. I always just like turning off the main highway when we're in a small town that I've never been to before and just kind of driving around the neighborhood and just seeing what we find. We ended up finding a pretty cool little church and stopped to take some photos. These photos of the church tower are alright. This first one has the light coming through the tower in a cool way. The second one is definitely underexposed, but still I like this one the best. Maybe it's the more muted vibes. I'm not 100% sure. And this is the first of many photos shot by Julia that will be in this video. I love seeing what the differences in composition we were seeing look like. And since she was shooting on a different film stock than me, at least in the beginning of this trip, seeing what differences that would make. The lighting on this house right by the church caught my eye. The moss on the trees around it was also super beautiful and just really captures that small town Florida vibe that I really like. And after leaving Brandford, we made it to Mayo. The main thing I wanted to see here was a bridge actually located on the far outskirts of town, so we decided to stop at a few places in town along the way. There's actually a really fun story about this town that I found while researching it. In 2018, the town was temporarily named Miracle Whip, Florida, as a huge publicity stunt done by Kraft, the people who make Miracle Whip. They had this whole ceremony where like the mayor came out and gave this big speech about why the name change like really made sense. And they even repainted the town to say Miracle Whip, which you can find photos of all over the internet. In the video of the event, I saw a bunch of people in the crowd wearing these "I'm proud to be from Miracle Whip, Florida" t-shirts, and holy shit do I want one. I tried looking them up on the internet. There's a bunch of knockoffs out there, but if anyone has an original, let me know. The town ended up changing everything back, of course, and Kraft actually ended up donating a bunch of money to the town to help with city beautification projects, which was pretty cool.
I would not do that. I would never disrespect the post office like that. Yeah, that's cool.
Another video for me, another post office photo, and not even the only one in this video. However, it is my favorite. A lot of people think of these types of buildings as ugly, but I really love this era post office architecture. Really government building architecture. It has a charm to its squareness. I like this photo a lot. The clear blue sky is a nice contrast to the starkness of the white building, and the lighting is really great with just the side being illuminated. And here it is, the infamous Mayo water tower. Yeah, the one that said Miracle Whip a couple years ago. I didn't know about the Miracle Whip situation when I first came here, but I had my fingers crossed that there would be a water tower that said the word Mayo on it. And you just can't get much better than this right here. After snagging that photo, we left downtown and headed on towards that bridge that I came here to see. And this is the Hal W. Adams Bridge. It crosses the Swanee River and is actually Florida's first suspension bridge. It was built in 1947 and named after a former mayor of Mayo, who actually ended up becoming a judge, I think. My favorite thing about this bridge is that it's relatively short in comparison to other suspension bridges. It's only 420 feet long. I really love this picture. The blue of the bridge is an interesting mixture with the blue from the sky, and all the angles from the bridge and the power lines next to it just take your eyes all over the picture. I couldn't decide which of these two I liked more. The main difference between the two being the tree branches in the foreground. Do I want that little bit of foreground to help make the composition more interesting, or do I want the bridge to just speak for itself? I couldn't decide. I really like Julia's photo here. The Kodak gold that she shot on instantly gives this photo more of a retro vibe compared to the very vivid Portra that I'm shooting on. After screwing around under this bridge and around this bridge for a while, we got back on the road and we headed to our next destination, which was Steinhatchee, or Steinhatchee as I was calling it, because I didn't know that the actual pronunciation was Steinhatchee.
Really, you should just have a series of
I kind of naturally have gravitated towards them, and I probably will.
do an art show of just post office photos.
I mean,
This photo is pretty overexposed. You know, I'm gonna have to come back if I want to include it in my art show. And once we got into the town, we immediately found our way to the water. It's right on the river, and I just love feeling that breeze. It's fantastic. Me and Julia were both pretty drawn to this wrecked dock out in the river. It's a pretty great subject, and it's really cool to see different takes on it. This angle of this dock was calling out to me. The crisscross leading lines make the boat in the middle stand out in a pretty cool way.
Oh, that's a cool.
oh, that is cool. Man, the water is so blue out.
This is brand new.
Yeah. This is so fucking pretty, Jesus. Loose board right there, careful.
I missed this headless owl as I was kind of photographing other things, but I'm really glad Julia decided to take a picture of it. This dock we were kind of exploring on was right next to this sort of unfinished but basically brand new clubhouse. And it wasn't quite done, but the pool was, and that was the important thing. I love this photo. The white cement around the pool really pops against all that blue surrounding it. And after exploring around the water a bit more, we decided to kind of drive around and explore the town. I didn't get any footage of this, but this photo was taken on a private road that I didn't really realize was private at the time, and we kind of got out of there pretty quickly. We then decided to grab some food and grab some brunch at this spot. I do love country fried steak, and it was delicious here. After eating, we headed back out of town towards our next destination. But along the way, we saw this really cool old motel sign and had to stop. I mean, you just can't not. Our last planned stop of the day was Manatee Springs State Park, which is located in Chiefland, Florida. I had never been here before, but I know a lot of the locals really like it, and so this definitely made it onto the list for the day.
It's okay. All right. I have to talk about it because that's part of the thing. This is awkward because Julia's here. Okay. I ran through my roll of Portra 400 that I brought, so I'm going to change it out for a roll of Kodak Gold 200. And we just made it to, what springs are we at, Julia?
Manatee Springs.
Manatee Springs. And we're gonna go shoot some manatee. Shit, that doesn't sound good. We're gonna go love on some manatees. Now, there's probably no manatees even here right now, but there might be.
Could be.
But yeah, I'm just loading up the film, and this is kind of our last stop of the day. It's been a good day so far. And we just close it up, and all right. Let's go shoot some manatees.
Manatee Springs and the surrounding area has actually been a home for humans for a really, really long time. There's been like architectural digs and artifacts found even in the springs that indicate humans have been there for almost 9,000 years. In 1774, William Bartram, who was like a naturalist and an artist, was sort of doing some traveling around the South and stumbled upon Manatee Springs and wrote about it in his book, and specifically about how he saw manatees there, and that is where the springs got its name. Because even though you can see manatees at a bunch of other parks, this was the one that became wildly associated with it. Because during the cold months, manatees actually swim up from the Gulf of Mexico way inland into these springs. I mean, I think this is something like 20 miles inland, and that's because the water here coming up from the Florida aquifer is at a constant 72 degrees year round. So you can find manatees here during the winter and the fall months pretty often.
You see this? The flood level sign? Like 1948, it was like 6 feet up from here. I guess this one's under construction or something. Be in heaven, but I don't want to go swimming. I just wanted to stick my feet in.
We explored around the park a little bit, went on a little hike. I forgot to bring a change of clothes, so we couldn't go swimming or anything. I did want to dip my toes in, but there was a bunch of people around, and I just ultimately decided to just look at the water and take some photos. But me and Julie had a really nice time doing that either way. I like this photo. It's a little hard to see, but right in that V of the tree is a person with a giant rubber ducky float, and I just absolutely love that, and it was perfectly framed by that tree.
Do love a good state park hike. Walk through some trees.
most trippy.
And that was the end of our day road trip. We were pretty tired after walking around the spring, so we decided to head home after this. But the trip was super fun, and to have my friend Julia with me just elevated it to that extra level. While I really do love going alone on these photo drives, it's always really nice to have someone to talk shit with while taking photos that enjoys it as much as I do. Gonna have to convince her to come with me again sometime soon now that it's cooling off here in Florida. Thank you all for watching this video and supporting my photography. I've actually been going out a lot more. Like I said, the temperature is dropping down here in Florida. It makes it really nice to go out and take photos because you're not boiling to death. If you want to see more of my work, you can follow me on Instagram, where I post a lot more than just what I show in these videos. I don't often bring my camera around, just kind of when it makes sense. So I do often have photos that don't really have any video attached to it that I still want to share because I love taking photos. But anyways, thanks again, and I'll see y'all next time.